Lighten up.
Yep.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Whatever's on your mind, diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, news, whatever is on your mind, bodybuilding or non-bodybuilding, it is all on the table. We have a lot of questions to get through. Let's go right to them, of course, on this show. The first 2 questions are from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, I'm 60 years old, so second week in a row that we get a question about a 60-year-old or above looking to bodybuild. Actually, you know what? So this question, actually, I'm going to scrap it because it was a repeat from last week. We'll take a second question again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Looking at your diets in the app, so I mean, it's a very general question, so I'm assuming they're new to the app. Perhaps they're new to bodybuilding in general and just want some pointers. Looking at your diets in the app, where should they start?
That's a pretty open-ended question, of course.
Very loaded question.
Yeah,
how about this, Dave? Walk somebody who hasn't used your app yet.
Okay.
They're looking to, looking at the different types of diets that you have on your app.
Yeah, first of all, the app is $29 a month, and it's basically Dave Palumbo as your coach in your pocket. You get not only access to all the writings and videos I've ever done anywhere, they're all concise in one place, it's like a library of all my stuff, but I answer everyone's questions in an open forum, so everyone sees everyone's questions, everyone's answers. I also do a Q&A video, just like this Ask Dave, exclusively for the app every single week. We put up a workout every single week, and all my diets and everything that I give out to people are on that app and in like a template-ish form. It's not obviously going to be as detailed as maybe my guru course, but a lot of the stuff is on there. So if you're new to the app and you're saying, you know what, I want to gain some weight, I have an off-season program there that you can follow. Diet, I have a cycle that you can follow, a supplement plan. Same thing for if you're trying to diet or lose weight. There's my diet plans are in there in a very generalized way, but basically with all the principles that I espouse. So, I mean, that's where you start from. A lot of people start there and then eventually they wind up hiring me, or they ask questions regarding that and they try to tweak it to their own needs. Some of them take my Diet Guru course, which will be probably held either at the end of this month or beginning of February. So that'll be before the Arnold for sure. I know a lot of people have been asking me about that. I was kind of waiting for New Year's to kind of pass. And, if you're looking to further your education in bodybuilding and constantly keep learning, the app is a great tool because not only do you have all the knowledge that and an ability to find all the stuff that I talk about on a daily basis, but you have the ability to check with me and ask questions so that you ensure that you're doing things properly.
Did you want to, dive a little deeper as far as diets, as far as maybe someone who's on a beginner scale, or what would be the best way to find a diet that's right for them?
Yeah, I mean, the diet's in there, and it's pretty much laid out according to macros for your weight, and if you weigh this much, you're going to eat this much. And like I said, I'm not giving away free diet advice in the sense that I'm writing personalized diets for people in the app. That's obviously a homework assignment, as I like to say. So that's coaching plan, but there are the basic principles of how many meals you should eat, how much protein, how much fat. For the ketogenic diet, if you're looking off season, how to gain weight, it's there. Just look for the articles, read them. Like I said, there's so many of them that you really can't go wrong. Most people find what they're looking for.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not already following us on Instagram, the handle is official_RxMuscle. If you're watching us for the first time here on YouTube, we welcome you. We ask that you subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our shows, segments, or updates right now on the channel. Yesterday's all-new episode of After Hours, another long episode. I think it was about an hour 40 minutes, but we had Mac Truck. So Mac Truck came on. And again, it was one of those episodes where if you're watching throughout the course of the episode, it was about 5-6 different episodes all in one. But Mac Truck does delve into some very, nitty-gritty topics as far as Rich Piana, the history between him and Rich Piana, and, some of the chapters towards the end of Rich Piana's life and, all the aftermath after, some new details revealed, and really doubling down on his suspicions on, I guess, what is quote unquote the official story surrounding Rich Piana, his final days, and the circumstances surrounding his death. So really good episode, really funny and entertaining episode. I thought, Dave, I don't know about you, but I thought Mac Truck was a real natural addition to the Whack Pack. Really hilarious episode yesterday.
Absolutely. And I told him as he's getting older and older, he's looking more and more like Samuel Jackson, the actor. And he sent me a picture of him, he actually did an impression of Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, it was hilarious. At the very end of the episode, if you watch the episode, at the very end, he does a bit from Django, and it was hilarious.
You should clip that and put that up on our YouTube. I bet you would get 1 million hits. It's so funny, and if you close your eyes, you would swear it was Samuel Jackson. And the funny thing is, you don't even have to close your eyes because he looks just like him.
It reminded me, Dave. I don't remember if you used to watch the Chappelle Show.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So remember there was that one skit they did with Samuel L. Jackson beer?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? They're like,
you
got to get him to do that one. That was hilarious.
I told he should have a separate section of his website. His YouTube channel should just be different skits he does of imitating Samuel Jackson, classic lines from him.
But I also did want to add, obviously, new episode of Heavy Muscle Radio, but we did add a new show to the podcast. Now, it's not new in terms of a new personality on the channel, but Dave and John Romano are going to do their own dedicated podcast. Now, this is one that many of you have been asking about. We originally started with Iron Rage, but at that point, John's career, John's life, he got sidetracked with other projects, so he wasn't able to really commit. And then it just so happened that I guess the relationship between Dave and Lee Priest, evolved to the point where it justified its own show. So that what became Iron Rage, what we have today. But then After Hours, remember, we kind of experimented with a format where Dave and John Romano would be on the show for the first 15 minutes, have their own little segment, and then the rest of the Whack Pack would follow suit. However, obviously that wouldn't work out. You'd have guys logging in 2-3 minutes into the conversation, and that would go out the window. But many of you had asked for a dedicated segment between Dave and John. So we have that. The first episode, we haven't figured out a name yet. So right now we kind of just put up a generic name, Palumbo and Romano. That might stick, however, but nonetheless, new episode, the first episode, that is from yesterday on the channel. And of course, this show, Iron Rage with Lee Priest, and then everything else we have. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button. As always, we appreciate your support throughout the course of the calendar year.
You know what the funny thing is? The funny thing about the show is we did one show, right? And I think you clipped it a few times too, but we did one show, and I've already had about 5 people contact me and ask me if they want to be on the show, which is the whole reason we did our own show, is not to have other people on. But these people are they're such good guests that I'm sure we will have them on at some point. So I know Jimmy Mentis is supposed to come on Friday, so we love him. So
Jimmy's the man, and especially with you and John, that would be.
People love that chemistry.
Yeah,
Mentis is good. It'll be a good show. But it's funny because it started out just John and I bullshitting, and now all of a sudden, once again, because it's like everyone knows us, and we know so many people that it's like we want to hang out with you guys, on the show, and it always turns out to be good, because if you have a lot of history with people and you bring up old stories, people love to hear that stuff, And I don't even remember half the things I've done in my life, and when people rehash it, it's like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot about that. That was a good story,
No, but then of course, obviously, the element to just no nonsense, straight to the point, kind of stuff. Really, the elements that this channel was founded upon. So, bringing that back, again, very, very solid first episode. I got a lot of good feedback. If you haven't already watched it, we'll put the card up here. Check it out. New show, Palumbo and Romano. We'll figure out a name as we get there.
Yeah.
First, do you want to say something else, sir? I'm sorry.
Nope. Good.
Oh, okay. First question from Excellent 187. In particular about contest prep, do you lower carbs on rest days?
You know, that's a good question, and I'll tell you why. It sounds stupid, but it's not a stupid question. It's a very good question, because a lot of people think if I'm not working out, I don't need to eat as much. I don't need to eat as many carbs. I don't need to eat as many meals. And I've heard this for 30 years. People have been asking me this question framed in different senses. Let me explain something to you. On the off days, when you're not doing anything, resting, okay, your body is probably repairing more muscle on those days than on the days that you're training. Because on the days you're training, you're breaking down muscle tissue. So there's a lot of inflammation going on. Your body's trying to clean the inflammation up. It hasn't even gotten around to repairing muscle. The off days are the most important days if you're training hard on the other days. So let's say you have 5 days a week, you're training hard. The 2 days you're off, massive amounts of muscle repair and new muscle tissue, growth is what's going on. If you cut back your nutrition on those days, you're going to limit your body's ability to recover. And that goes for carbs too, because just because you're not look, when you're in the gym, you're probably using up 50 grams of carbs for the workout. No, I mean, unless you're training for 3 hours, for most people, if you train an hour and 20 minutes, you might use 50 grams of carbs. It's not a lot of carbs, but it's the metabolic machinery, okay, that requires carbohydrates to fuel it. It's like, imagine a factory that's making cars, okay? The factory needs fuel, right? It needs electricity. It needs energy to run all the machines there. It's the same thing with our bodies, except on the rest day at a car factory, they turn the factory off and everyone goes home. Our bodies never turn off, and they're actually working harder on the off days to repair muscle tissue. So you have a very high energy requirement, not protein and fat requirement, because those are always consistent, right? Because you're always repairing muscle tissue. We have a high energy requirement to repair muscle. It might even be higher on the off days than it is on the on days, believe it or not. So do not cut back carbs on those days. Now, if you're cycle dieting because you're trying to get lean, that's a different story. We're talking off season where you're trying to grow and put on massive amounts of muscle. Do not cut back your carbohydrates on your off days.
Let's go to Lomna Sasteva. How long can bicep tendonitis last, and what can I do, I guess, in terms of alleviation, in terms of minimizing symptoms?
Forever. I know guys that have had tendonitis for 10 years. I sent them to an ART specialist, active release technique specialist, and 2 treatments. They were better. Why does a person get tendonitis? Okay. It's because the tendons that attach the muscles for biceps in here and in the shoulder, for triceps on the elbow, up on the top and to be under your delt. When those tendons or muscles, okay, let's say it's usually muscular in nature. What happens is you train, you break down muscle tissue, and you might get what we call adhesion buildup or scar tissue, essentially. So you damage a muscle fiber a little bit in the gym, a little more maybe than you should have, and it heals up and it lays down some scar tissue and some collagen and connective tissue. And now muscles that normally slide past each other like this are now stuck to each other and they're moving like this. When they move like this, the tendon is pulled in a weird torquing movement. And because instead of the tendon moving back and forth nice and smoothly and it's moving like this, it starts rubbing on the bone, okay, in the groove that it runs in. And when it rubs, it creates inflammation. That's called tendonitis, tendon being inflamed. Why is the tendon being inflamed? Because it's rubbing against something it's not supposed to rub against. So most of the time, that situation can be fixed by an ART practitioner. Because what ART basically is, it's targeted massage or targeted deep tissue massage, essentially. It identifies what the problem is, bicep tendonitis. It finds where the adhesion is, because the practitioner will feel the area. And it does certain moves. It has you actually moving your arm while they're applying pressure and essentially giving you like a deep tissue massage. And it breaks up these adhesions. And once those adhesions are broken up, and it might take them a couple tries to really get exactly all that adhesion broken up. Now the tendon's moving freely, and now it can heal, recover. The inflammation goes down, and you're cured. But if you don't fix that adhesion, okay, that scar tissue buildup, you can have it forever, and then what happens is the tendon becomes so inflamed, it becomes damaged, and then it gets weak, and then it snaps, and you tear a muscle. So that's the progression of a situation. It goes from tendonitis to tendonitis, I think that's what it's called, and then it goes to a muscle, progress to a muscle tear. So you don't want it to get there. Also, you should consider taking a product like our Arthrolyze, 5 pills twice a day, to give your body the raw materials it needs to repair the tissue of the tendon. Remember, tendons and connective tissue are made up of glucosamine, chondroitin, collagen, all this stuff. You need the building blocks to do that. And you need it in high amounts. And you need a very high biologically available source of sulfur, which is the best source is MSM. So Arthrolyze contains 4 grams of MSM, 4 grams of glucosamine per day. So, and that's a nice hefty amount, and that's what you need. So I would take that. I'd find an ART guy. If you can't find one in your area, go to activereleasetechniques.com, put your zip code in, it'll find a person in your area. In the meantime, you can get some deep tissue to start breaking that area up, but it's a lot easier if you go to an ART person. It's much more precise.
I hate going to dark places, but something I guess was reported last night, and obviously it's all over the news, more so from an MMA perspective, but this is a fighter who obviously has origins in bodybuilding and origins, in terms of relationship with you, in terms of you doing his diet. And that is the story of Phil Baroni, arrested in Mexico over the course of the last day or so, arrested for murdering his girlfriend. Obviously, we'll see what comes about as the legal procedures go. But just in general, your reaction, obviously, to seeing the news. I know you texted me fairly late last night with the news, so it's pretty shocking development. But obviously, someone that you go back a long time with.
Yeah, it's sad news, obviously. But Phil Baroni and I met years ago in a place called Synergy Fitness. I was filming my training video at Matt Duvall there, a reconstruction of a bodybuilder, and he was working there. He was a teen at the time. I think he was 18 or 19, and he wanted to do some teen shows, and I helped him out, helped him with the diet a little bit, answered a lot of his questions. Good guy. You could tell he was, a tough kid, and great genetics. Just he had really good genetics. He could have gone very far in bodybuilding if he really wanted to. But I think he actually went to the teen nationals, and they wouldn't let him compete because he didn't sign up, or there was some peculiar miscue. And so he was all depressed because he had dieted for the show, and he walked out and he walked down the street. There was some bar that was having a tough man competition. And he went in there and he hadn't even trained for it. I don't even know if he had gloves. I think he had to borrow someone's gloves, and he won the thing. And he had a natural ability to fight. And he went from that and then progressed to him going into the UFC, and he was good. And he was one of these guys that was a knockout guy. He didn't like to fight on the floor. He was like this, punch, and he was very popular. He called himself the New York Badass. He had a bunch of really, really high-end fights, and then his career took a turn for the worse. And he lost a couple fights. He went and fought in Pride and some other organizations, came back to UFC, tried to make a comeback, didn't work so well. But, Phil was always like one of these guys that was very unconventional, did things his own way. I know he was friends with Craig Titus for a while out in Vegas, which was a terrible combination of people hanging out. He was nothing ever but respectful to me. I had nothing bad to say about Phil. I thought he was a great guy. Thought he was a little misguided, and maybe he was a little bit of a waste of a talent in a certain sense, because he was his own worst enemy. But evidently, somehow, whether it's his fault or not, we don't know. It seemed like it was an accident. At least that's what he reported. His girlfriend in Mexico, he had a Mexican girlfriend. They were living down there, and somehow they had an altercation. Supposedly, he said that she was admitted to cheating on him. He told her to get in the shower, and I'm not gonna be with you unless you. And she didn't want to get in the shower, and he threw her in there, and supposedly she fell, and then she got out, and they were drinking, together, and all of a sudden she passed out and died. So whether that's the case or not, we'll never know. I'm sure they're doing an investigation down there. He did turn himself in, which is smart, because look what Craig Titus and Kelly Ryan happened to them when they went on the run and they tried to cover it up. So I tend to believe that probably there was an element of an accident going on there, and hopefully maybe Phil learned from the Titus situation. You know what? This is a really unfortunate event. I'm devastated, but I'm going to turn myself in because, you know what? I didn't do any, I didn't mean to do this. And hopefully, look, I hope that the guy doesn't go to jail. It doesn't look like, he's going to come out of this smelling like roses because, there was some altercation. It seems as though that she has some bruises on her. I don't know how it happened. It's a shame because, like I said, Phil is a truly talented guy. He just lost his way at some point, and I really wish him the best. And I hope he doesn't have to go to prison, but it doesn't look very good. And I'm sure they're going to be giving us updates, as they happen at this point. The terrible thing is that the girl has died, and whether it was his fault or not, someone did die, and that's a horrible thing. And so that's all we know right now. I haven't gotten any updates on it so far. I talked to a bunch of people who know Phil personally, and everyone is hearing the same story. It's out of Mexico. That's what the Mexican people are reporting. And that was the state that he gave them, and that's what he told them happened. So we'll have to just wait and find out.
Let's transition to perhaps a brighter topic, if you want to call it that. But this is more bodybuilding related, so let's go there. Rachel Palmer, fit Miss Figure. Do you think fitness Olympia girls are getting too jacked? Could this potentially ruin this class and make it even harder to compete? And fitness is supposed to be less muscular, which is why it was brought in the Olympia in the first place. Your thoughts, and I guess I'll add to that because it seems as if, and I know you had this conversation on either Heavy Muscle Radio or with Romano on the new show about even wellness, or actually it was yesterday in After Hours, that a lot of these divisions are getting way too muscular, and maybe the origins of the division was not supposed to be as muscular. So specifically on figure, but then I guess the other divisions as a whole.
All right, you said fitness. Did you?
I'm sorry, I meant fitness. Yes, sorry about that. Her name is Miss Figure. Yeah.
So it's figure. So she's talking about in figure or fitness?
No. Her handle is figure, but she was talking specifically about the fitness Olympia. Right. Yeah, I just got the name confused. Yeah.
I think the figure Olympia girls are too big.
Right. No. Yeah. You commented on that. I said that
before I've gone on record. I don't think the fitness girls are too big. I think the fitness girls. Look, let me explain something about fitness. Fitness is only 1/3 physique. So. Right. No one's losing the Olympia because they're not big enough. Okay. That's not happening. If you have a great routine, the routine is everything. If you have the best routine and you show up in shape, you're going to win the Olympia. I mean, just by the mathematics of the whole situation, unless you have a horrible physique. I see way too many fitness girls coming in out of shape on stage. They're just not lean enough. I don't know why. I don't know if it's hard to get lean and still have a lot of energy to do your routine. But you know what? I get news for you. Some of these girls that are not lean, they don't have great routines. So I don't know what the problem is. I am a big advocate. If I was running, the IFBB, NPC, whatever, I would be going into the gymnastics gyms and pulling these girls into this sport, because after these girls graduate college, a lot of these girls go to college on a scholarship for gymnastics, which obviously pays their way. But after that, they don't know what to do with themselves, because only a very, very small amount of girls will ever go to the Olympics because they're just not that good. It's very hard, very competitive at the top level. So where are these girls doing? What are these girls doing after college? Let's recruit those girls. Let's teach them how to work out. They already got the routine down. I mean, all they got to do is, hone in, get a choreographer. They have the skill set to easily do fitness routines. And you would have a whole renaissance of the fitness division. As far as the girls being too big, I don't think they're too big in fitness. I think they're too big in figure. There are a few girls that have a little bit more muscle, but really not. So the problem is that there's not a lot of good quality physiques in the fitness division. And that's why when you see a really good physique like Missy Truscott or Ariel Kadar, you're like, what happened to the other girls? Because a lot of the other girls just don't have that level of conditioning and muscularity. But they're not huge, these girls. I think they're fine. I think that the figure division, however, has gotten out of control. Not with the winner. I think Sydney Gillen has got perfect blend, but I think some of the other girls are really big, and so to me, I would tone it down. But as far as the fitness division goes, I think we're fine. And like I said, I don't think it really matters because the routine is pretty much most of their score.
Let's go to M. Brown. How long does it take your test levels to come down after a shot? My doctor has me on half cc of test sip a week and the single use of 1 ml vials. I don't want to be wasting any, but don't want my levels to be real high when I get my checkup.
Well, I mean, if you wait 3 weeks, they'll be low. If you wait 2 weeks, they'll be lower than they normally are routinely. But what I don't understand is if you're on HRT, did they say they're on HRT prescribed by the doctor?
Yeah, let me just get it again. Just so
that's what he said.
Yeah, half cc of test sip a week. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so if that's what the doctor's prescribing for you, then I mean, unless you're trying to bamboozle him into giving you more, in which case, wait 2.5 weeks before you take your shot, and then go get your, take your blood work when you're low, on the low end, and then he'll say, "Oh, you're too low. Let's up your dose." If that's what you're trying to do, fine. But if you're just worried that the half cc might come back high, I really wouldn't. As long as you're not taking it the day before your blood work, I think you're fine. So you get an initial little peak, and then it kind of levels off, and you get an even spread. I don't really know what the strategy is here. I do have people that, who do cycles, and they're like, "Oh, I got to get tested by my HRT doctor to make sure they renew my meds." I'll usually have them stop 3 weeks before and then go get tested. And usually they're on the lower end at that point. So as long as you're not through the roof, I wouldn't worry about it.
Jojo, the young bull, is animal-based protein powders as bioavailable as whey?
Well, whey is an animal-based protein. Anything that comes from an animal is animal-based. So whey, egg, beef, chicken protein, anything that comes from the actual, even collagen protein, is animal-based. So anything plant-based would be like your pea protein, rice protein, soy protein. Those are coming from plants. If the question is whey as potent as beef and chicken protein? Yeah. As a matter of fact, it might be more biologically available because it's got higher quality. When they rank these things on biological availability, in other words, the ability to extract everything out of the protein, the whole egg is always 100, rated at 100, and so is whey isolate. So they're about equal. Beef and chicken are a little less biologically available because they have fat in them. Remember, it's almost impossible to find a beef source or chicken source, even fish for that matter, that is completely devoid of fat. That just doesn't exist. I mean, venison probably is the leanest cut of beef you can probably find, and even that has some fat. And so your things that have, things that are the purest or the most easily absorbed tend to have the best biological availability. But I personally would rank all animal protein products, with the exclusion of the collagen, which is from connective tissue, at being super high availability. I would say they're all about equal. So I like to vary beef and chicken and fish and eggs and whey, because I think they're all very valuable, and they all have slightly different amino acid profiles. Whereas the plant proteins are all devoid of branched chain amino acids, which we know are very, very important in terms of turning on mTOR, which is the protein machinery switch that flips, that basically gets the protein machinery working in the body. And we just know that collagen protein is not as good, just even though it's animal based. It's just because it's comes from tendons and connective tissue. It doesn't have a great spectrum of amino acids, and they're not quite as high in the branch chains as well. So I would, like I said, stick with chicken, fish, meats, and dairy products, specifically whey isolate, because I think that a lot of dairy has too much lactose in it to really make it efficiently absorbed, and go from there.
Take a couple more questions. Dad Bod Bodybuilding. Does Tren cause nervous damage in the brain? Does it prevent neural repair while in the system, particularly in the brain?
No, I think that Trenbolone just overstimulates the nervous system in general. And so that's why it makes you agitated. It makes you aggressive. It makes it hard to sleep at night. Turn that excitatory neurotransmitters off, because it just overexcites the brain, overexcites the heart. That's why it can raise blood pressure. It overexcites the digestive system, which can, in some people, cause indigestion, diarrhea in some people. Some people get hiccups from it because it overexcites the diaphragm muscle, and that can start over contracting, and you get your breathing gets out of rhythm, and you get the hiccups. So Trenbolone definitely, and it's definitely dose related. So the more you take, the more chances you are to get those side effects. So that's my new protocol. Like I always used no more than 50 milligrams of Trenbolone 3 days a week when I was competing, because no one thought to do that much more. Or if I used Powerball, and I would use 2 ampules a week, which was 76 milligrams each, which comes out to about 150 milligrams a week. And no one had any problems really. People got aggressive on it, but no one got to the point where they couldn't sleep at night and they had high blood pressure. It just didn't happen back when people used that stuff. So I kind of got sucked into the whole a little more is better. I was doing 100 milligrams of guys every other day. And sometimes I would even do 100 milligrams a day the last week. I've stopped recommending it. I think less is better of it. If you're on a million other anabolics and a lot of testosterone, you don't need so much Trenbolone. And I think all it's causing is more side effects, and it can result in long-term damage. Can it damage neurons in the brain? I don't think so. I think it's just overstimulating them.
Last question from Bilal Hamide. I had to take a break from weight training. He says he had no surgery. How much muscle loss is expected? I guess he must have had to take a long break. So the question is, A, how much muscle loss is expected from a long break from training? How can I minimize it during this period? He said he was on cycle but started TRT right after the surgery.
I found that I've had a lot of surgeries, unfortunately, over the last couple of years. Between 2 foot surgeries this year, I've had each shoulder replaced. I had my thyroid removed, which was pretty minor surgery. I have to tell you, I was back pretty quick after that one. But you don't lose muscle as fast as you think. It takes a really long time. Even my leg, and I've had a lot of leg surgeries, between 4, 5 quad surgeries, the 2 foot surgeries, and he didn't want me doing anything for legs. And you know what? I started training and it came back pretty quick. You just don't lose muscle as fast. The key is, if you have one side being operated on, make sure you train the other side. So I never stopped training my left leg, and that stayed big. And my right leg did never atrophy as much. I think if you don't do anything and you just don't, what happens is people get depressed, they do nothing, they don't go to the gym, they don't eat enough food. And of course their body cannibalizes muscle. If you're not going to feed your body enough muscle to sustain what you have and replenish it, okay, you're going to lose it. You don't use it, you lose it, that kind of thing. So you can't just say, I give up. If you give up, you're going to lose very quickly. And if you continue to train and you continue to eat right and you do what you can do, because that's all you can ever do, you won't lose that much. Now, if you've had a major, I think you said you had brain surgery, right?
No surgery.
No surgery. Same thing. I mean, the doctor might not want him doing anything that raises blood pressure for like 2 or 3 weeks. You're not going to lose anything in that time period. If you missed 3 months and you were laid up in bed, not moving, yeah, of course you're going to lose, but you should be fine. He'll probably clear you to do cardio, I'm sure, after a week or 2, and just get back to it slowly. And I wouldn't worry about it. People stress out and they think they're going to lose like 30 pounds of muscle. It ain't going to happen. I mean, if they put you in a bed on a ventilator, like some of these COVID people, different story. But if you're moving around and still doing stuff and you're able to eat your food, you should be fine.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. All new episodes of Heavy Muscle Radio, yesterday's episode of After Hours, and then, of course, the brand new show right now named Palumbo and Romano. Then tomorrow, all new episode of Iron Rage with Lee Priest. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next week.